Welcome everybody to the channel. Just one or two things I want to make you aware of on the channel is I found this particular guy's website. I want to thank him for it.
Story about the BBC and the Chancellor.
The guy called Sam Polo. There's a few videos here regarding the BBC. Of course, the main one was this guy here, the Chancellor, who was responsible for the cutting back of the BBC budget, or over 75. So I just thought I'd let you watch this, if he's okay with it. The guy who it's on his website.
The BBC and the Chancellor, I'm sure very.
I'm just going to play it from the beginning so I don't miss anything.
The BBC and the Chancellor, I'm sure very well sourced. The overall implication of that is about £500 million out of the BBC's budget for programmes. And you've got a story, I think, from the Sunday Express.
Yes, the Sunday Express has done it, and we've done this story as well. 800 million out of the BBC budget. I imagine there are quite a few people in this building at the moment feeling quite nervous
breaking
and
sweat.
wondering how to respond to this rather clever raid on the BBC's finances. Because what he's saying is, look, you can start charging people for iPlayers. At the moment, too many people are watching the BBC for nothing. They're not paying their licence fee. They're watching, at home on digital, and it's losing the BBC money. So you can charge a bit for that. You won't get that much from that, I have to warn you now. But at the same time, you're going to lose a massive chunk because the state is going to stop issuing free licences to the over 75s, and they're saying, BBC, you've got to do it yourself. And that's quite a smart way of trying to cut back on the BBC budget.
I guess the big question, I'm sure you won't want to talk about this, that kind of money means the closure of big channels, big radio stations. Viewers and listeners will really notice it. Are the Conservatives keen to have that kind of fight?
Viewers may well notice it, but viewers are also watching other things besides the BBC.
Sure.
And I imagine that what they're saying at the moment, and it might not be a welcome message here, is that times have changed. And that not everybody is watching the national broadcaster or wants the national broadcaster to do everything.
Sure.
Because the BBC, like a lot of public sector things, has sort of expanded and is all over everywhere. And it's saying, well, what is the BBC's core mission? And
maybe we'll hear the Chancellor on that later on. It's very interesting.
One note as a political hack rather than a BBC man, it's clever for another reason. The first document on David Cameron's desk when he became Prime Minister was easy money is taking it away from the wealthy pensioners, but he's always refused to do it. What he's now doing is saying, you, the BBC, now fund these free licences for some wealthy pensioners, obviously not all of them are, and if you want to cut it, be our guest, then you can spend the money. So in other words, he is delegating a decision he didn't dare take himself to the BBC.
That is very, very clever.
That's well observed.
Let's move on. A little bit of local housekeeping. There's some various cheerfully menacing stories about the BBC all over and the budget all over the newspapers today. Standing back a little bit, what kind of BBC would you like to see?
Well, look, the BBC is a really important national institution and a fantastic broadcaster that produces some of the best television and radio in the world. And we want to give it a sustainable future in an age when the technology is changing, when there are lots of other broadcasters out there. But the BBC is also a publicly funded public institution. And so it does need to make savings and contribute to what we need to do as a country to get our house in order. So we are in discussion with the BBC. Of course, we've got the charter renewal process going on as well. And when we have conclusions we can talk about, we'll come and talk about them.
Now, one of the things, I know you can't talk about the budget, but one of the things that is suggested, the BBC would take over the cost of licences for older people, and in return there'd be some kind of deal. The net effect of that, according to all the papers and all the commentators, would be about £500 million out of the BBC's operating money, which would be the equivalent of closing, for instance, Radio 2, Radio 5 Live, or possibly a big TV channel. Is that the kind of thing you'd be comfortable to happen on your watch?
Well, I remember 5 years ago doing a deal with the BBC, the then Director General Mark Thompson, where actually the BBC did make around £500 million of savings, or took on £500 million worth of responsibilities, including
Indeed.
things like the BBC World Service. I was told at the time by people they're going to shut down BBC Two, they're going to close Radio 4. But they always seem to pick the
Yeah.
juiciest fruit on the tree. I would say the BBC is a well-run organisation under Tony Hall. I'm absolutely sure that they can make a contribution. But I want the BBC to have a strong future. And you would know this better than most, Andrew, there are massive technological changes that if we don't address will mean the licence fee income will slowly disappear.
Agreed.
And I think, therefore, that's the basis of a deal we can do.
But there is a sort of philosophical question about what kind of organisation the BBC should be. Should it be pure market failure, things that nobody else would do, or should it be making big popular programmes like, for instance, Strictly? Which side of that argument do you come down?
Well, I would absolutely want the BBC to go on making fantastic programmes like Strictly. I'm straying into your world here, but I would say you want the BBC to be producing popular programmes that people want to watch. I think if the BBC decides it's only going to do niche things, then it loses its argument. I think you are able to say to the BBC things like, and this is more for the charter renewal, if you look at your website, what's the Times newspaper or the Telegraph newspaper or the Daily Mail or the Sun or the Mirror going to look like in 10 years' time? It's going to be an online paper, probably. And so, therefore, if you've got a website that's got features and cooking recipes and all sorts of, effectively the BBC website becomes the national newspaper as well as the national broadcaster, and there are those sorts of issues which I think we need to look very carefully. I don't think you used to edit a national newspaper.
Not very well.
Talking yourself down, but you wouldn't want the BBC to completely crowd out national newspapers.
No.
And if you look at the BBC website, it's a good product, but it is becoming a bit more imperial in its ambitions.
Very interesting indeed. Imperial or otherwise, good luck on budget.
I just don't know what to say, because I must admit this. Then we've got this other guy talking about the BBC in a different, this is a few years ago, so we'll play this one now.
Started when we have a new chairman in place.
I'm just trying to plumb your own instincts about the BBC, because clearly it's a hugely controversial issue. Lots of the newspapers would like to see the BBC shrivel or even disappear. Other people say that it's no longer time for the licence fee to carry on, that the technological changes mean the licence fee can't carry on being collected in the same way. Even the Labour Party is talking about that. So what about the licence fee itself?
Well, I think so that's a very important issue. One thing that we already did when we came into government is, despite the charge, we worked with the BBC to freeze the licence fee at £145.50. I still think that's a large amount for many families up and down the country. Incidentally,
It's too high.
No, I think it's a large amount, and I think this needs to be looked at when you have the charter review process. But you also touched on another important point. Since the last charter review, technology has changed. Think of the number of people that consume programs through things like platforms, Netflix or iTunes, or even the BBC's own iPlayer.
Absolutely.
And so that's been a big technological change, and I think when we have that review, it needs to take all this into account.
Have you seen an alternative way of funding the BBC which is plausible and could work?
Frankly, I haven't looked at that yet, because we haven't started the charter review process, but I think that all these issues should be looked at there. I don't think anything should be ruled out and nothing should be ruled in.
I just want to play this one now because it's more relative.
What's
play
really
this one.
iniquitous about this, the real scandal, is that the BBC negotiated a deal in 2015. And I use the word deal because that's the word the BBC used to describe it. And the deal was, if you, the government, renew our charter and allow us to increase the TV licence year on year from the moment we renew our charter, then we will take on responsibility for providing free TV licences for the over 75. That was a deal. You can Google it. It's on the BBC website. It's exactly as I just described it. And then the BBC, having got the charter renewed, having increased the TV licence fee in 2016 and in 2017 and in 2018, have now said, actually, we can't afford to pay for TV licences for the over 75s. They're going to have to pick up that bill themselves. That's they're going to pay for some, but only the poorest. The other 3.7 million, they're going to have to pay for them themselves. So they've completely welched on that deal, and they turn around now and say, oh yes, but we've closed the gender pay gap because, as you pointed out, the bottom 3 in the top 10 are now women. I mean, what kind of logic is this?
So there they are, folks. You know, make up your own opinion. I must thank this Sam Polo for putting it on his site, and thanks very much. So you can make up your own mind what they think of the BBC. You know, like I say, whether it's just you know, time to just do as much as you can to sort of people just say we've had enough and end this monopoly. You know. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to get back to you with another one. You know, later on, maybe something similar, which was in the past when the Conservatives cut back the pension, cut back on the allowances. So you know, it's all relative, but this was years ago, and of course people do forget. But of course the BBC don't realise that. Well, they do. They know it's on YouTube, so it's all there, recorded by this gentleman. I'm thanking him for doing it, and there for everybody to see. But of course, it's on my channel now, but for everybody to have a look at and make up their own opinion. So thanks very much for him to doing that, and I'll look to see you in the next one and try and find some more information on the BBC and their